Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you part 10 of what if Naruto was personally trained by Kurama after leaving the village. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Had the Rarest Bloodline over on Anime King 2. Links will be down in the description for you guys to enjoy. Yes, I have 3 channels. Anime King 2, and Anime King 3. And all links will be down in the description. This is Anime King as you know. So yeah, go ahead and click those red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking about to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last part we left off, both Naruto and Gaara were making their way, as Gaara didn't like it that much when he has to go to the hot springs, as Uncle would give them time off for them to relax. But Gaara still didn't like the water that much as he got his sand all heavy and crinkly, but he was making his way. But the moment Naruto stepped outside, he was greeted by Itachi Uchiha. As Naruto was surprised to see the man here, Gaara rushed out after hearing the commotion, as another person was there as well, Kisame. As the 2 S-rank missing names came forward, as Kisame told Itachi will handle this. They were in the hallway, and drawing too much attention themselves, Konoha ninjas will flock in soon enough, so Itachi told Kisame to hurry. Gaara brought up his sand defense, but Kisame simply cut right through it, Samihata absorbing the shock from the sand. Gaara was shocked when he came down so fast, but Naruto was able to push him out of the way. Itachi wasted no time as he entered as well, as he decided that he should end this right now, as his eyes switched, and he activated the Tsukiyomi, drawing Naruto into his world. But the Kyuubi wouldn't stand for that, as she came out, creating a celestial form inside a human body out of her chakra, as Itachi was quite surprised. He never knew what would happen if he ever tried this on a Jinchuriki, but let's just say he never expected this, as she was gonna beat the living crap out of him, as she was quite pissed, as she hates Uchihas, especially seeing their eyes. Given that time is distorted in the world, it only took 3 seconds as Itachi was on the ground. As he was out, Kisame wondered what the hell happened, as Jiraiya came there. Kisame quickly grabbed Itachi as he fled with him, as Jiraiya sighed. He figured that this would happen, but not so soon. Time skip. As Jiraiya convinced them to help him find Tsunade, well, Naruto knew where to find her, as there was a big gambling tournament going on. Jiraiya told Naruto that he could teach him the Rasengan, but Naruto showed him that he already knew it, as Jiraiya was shocked. As Naruto remembered when he was traveling with Tayuya and Gaara on their first mission without Baki Sensei, their first B-rank mission, as they were supposed to find Tsunade and get her to return to pay back her death. As Naruto accidentally learned how to swirl the chakra in his palm, when he found Tsunade, she saw it, as she said, "How did you know the Rasengan?" As Naruto did not know what she was talking about. But the both of them ended up making a bet. Tsunade was quite shocked as he actually won, as he was able to create the Rasengan, as she gave him her necklace and kissed him on the forehead, as she went to settle up her debt. As Jiraiya was shocked as Naruto learned the Rasengan so quickly, and it took him months, and Naruto had no prior knowledge of jutsu. That was just quite shocking. The group ended up finding Tsunade, as Jiraiya tried to convince her to come back as a Hokage, but she declined. Jiraiya got a smart idea, as he would become Hokage and put hot springs all over Konoha and a lot of ladies. She punched that thought right out of him, as he asked her to at least think about it, which she said that she will. The time passed while they were there, as Uncle tried to make Tayuya and Naruto see that the both of them had strong feelings for each other, as she pretended by transforming into a girl to flirt with Naruto and Tayuya was really pissed off. Well, she will just have to continue that and keep it up to make the both of them realize that they like each other and stop acting like this. After all, it would be good for them. Shizune came bursting into their room, as the group was quite surprised, as she came and told them that Tsunade-sama needed help, Orochimaru. The group quickly went out after her. So yeah guys, so basically that's what left off. You guys can switch across to the place and check it out for yourself. So this will begin this new episode. As Naruto rounded the corner in a blur, Uncle, Gaara, and Tayuya were hot on his trail, as the group was struggling to keep up with his speed, as Naruto was just worried about Tsunade. If Orochimaru could kill Hiruzen despite his age, then Tsunade would be hard-pressed at best. Uncle was just wondering how Naruto could be so fast, while Tayuya and Gaara were keeping their opinions to themselves. But Tayuya started to feel some pain in her shoulder as her anger flared over Orochimaru. It took them less than a minute to reach the castle. Well, at least where the castle used to be. Now it was nothing but smoking rubble, as Naruto spotted the trail of destruction as he quickly sped off. As he arrived at the battlefield in seconds, earning a few strange glances from Orochimaru and the skeptical one beside him, as they never expected anyone to catch up so quickly. Not that they were worried in the slightest though, as Naruto felt his anger growing just from looking at Orochimaru, but he held back the Kyuubi's chakra. It wouldn't do him any good right now to lose himself. He glanced towards Tsunade, who had a few spatter of blood over her clothes. It didn't appear to be hers though. That was good. But she seemed to be in an unresponsive state as he wondered what Orochimaru did to make her this way. He snarled, but he kept his emotion in check as he turned towards Orochimaru and his assistant. Kabuto, I knew I smelled Orochimaru on you in the Chunin exams. Kabuto simply smirked as he pushed up his glasses in a mocking way as he looked at Naruto. Like Naruto being there didn't even matter at all. It's good to see you too, Naruto. I have yet to pay you back for what you did to me and my team. Naruto rolled his neck as he cracked a few times, as the rest of his companions arrived behind him. Sorry, but I don't have time for you right now, said Naruto, as he turned towards Orochimaru, who simply gave him a mocking smile. Interesting, the Kyuubi brat think he can take me on. Perhaps I should give an overconfident Jinchuriki a lesson in humility. I don't need the Kyuubi's chakra to deal with you, said Naruto. Kabuto simply smirked as his hand started to glow green, as he pointed in their direction. Green blades. To get to Lord Orochimaru, you must first get past me, Naruto. Before Naruto could even reply, Kabuto sprinted across the field as he covered the distance within seconds, as Naruto bent himself getting ready. But at the last second, Kabuto turned and aimed a lethal strike towards Tsunade. But first, I think I should deal with Lady Tsunade here. After all, she's wide open for the picking. As the chakra scalpel came down, it would have been a lethal strike if it was for Uncle. Right timing, as she dived in front of the woman, as she took the slash across her arms, crying as muscles and bones were slashed. Kabuto gave an annoyed sneer as he looked at her, as Orochimaru looked at his first apprentice, thinking about all those years he wasted on her. Kabuto raised his scalp once again, but Uncle was moved by Naruto, as he was placed in a different location. Kabuto simply jumped back, as Naruto glanced towards him from the corner of his eye. My dear Uncle, how good it is to see you again, said Orochimaru. Uncle bit back the pain as she spat towards Orochimaru's direction. Orochimaru sighed. Oh, is Jiraiya not here? We could have one big happy reunion. Naruto cursed under his breath as they forgot the sage back in the hotel. Tayuya, you need to go back and get Jiraiya. We can't do this without him, said Naruto. She shot him a look. She was clearly against his idea. Come on, shithead. The snake freak can't even use his arms. Orochimaru glared towards her. How dangerous can he be? She said, but she didn't pay attention to Orochimaru as she looked towards Naruto. Tayuya, we don't have time, just get Jiraiya, said Naruto. She scowled as the mark on her shoulder started to flare a bit, as her eyes flickered between Orochimaru and Naruto. Orochimaru saw what was happening, as he jotted that piece of information away in his mind for later. Fine, but you owe me, shithead, she said. As Naruto nodded as she turned and sprinted off back to the location. Gaara, I need you to take care of Kabuto, said Naruto. Gaara simply nodded as sand started to leak from his gourd. Oh, that's cute. So I get to play with the little fox. As Naruto took off his jacket and tossed it, everyone was a bit surprised when the jacket created a crater as it brought up dust and smoke. as Naruto cracked his neck once again, before he disappeared from sight as he appeared behind Orochimaru, as his feet was already swinging through the air to crack Orochimaru's skull. But the man bent his head forward, as Naruto twists and drives his leg down, but Orochimaru twists his body to an odd angle as he dodged the attack, surprising Naruto. Interesting. So you're fast. Naruto ignored him as he attacked the man in new fury, but Orochimaru slipped and twists, distorting his body and moving in unhuman ways to get away. As Naruto flickered away and reappeared a few meters away from the man. Impressive stamina as well, but not enough, Orochimaru said. As Naruto cursed under his breath, despite all the training he went through, it was still not enough. He narrowed his eyes in irritation, but he then smirked, as Orochimaru noticed that. And what is so funny, brat? That your friends are about to die. That the village you once lived in will be razed to the ground. Naruto shook his head no with a smile on his face, as Orochimaru frowned a bit at that. It's not that. I might not be fast enough. As it seals on his wrist. Poof, as two kunais drop in his hands. But the fourth Hokage is. Orochimaru's eyes narrow in anger as he looked at the weapons that Naruto's holding onto. That's impossible. A brat like you don't know the Harashin. Even I couldn't have learned it, Orochimaru said. Naruto shrugged as he launched two kunais, as more of them dropped into his hand as he launched them all around the field. Orochimaru did not move as he did not believe the man could do it. He did not believe this boy had achieved that. He was just doing this to get under his skin. It was no small secret that Orochimaru resented the fort because he stole the Hokage position from him. As Naruto disappeared, not even leaving an after image. Immediately, Orochimaru felt a heavy blow from behind him. As he turned, no one was there. He was struck once again. Orochimaru quickly regurgitated Kusanagi blade as he held onto it, ready to slice Naruto in half. As Naruto appeared and dodged the blow, as he slid and slammed Orochimaru in the chest before vanishing once again. Orochimaru frowned before he thought he slapped me. As Naruto reappeared near to the kunai, to Anko and Tsunade. Anko was looking at Naruto in disbelief. Tsunade was still trapped in what petrified her. As Naruto dropped to one knee, panting for breath. He was still not used to using that technique and it took a lot out of him. Orochimaru was still snarling as he looked at Naruto with pure resentment and hatred. There was an image of Minato right above the boy. An image that Orochimaru would gladly wipe off the face of the earth. Jiraiya arrived in the field with Tayuya just that moment. As he didn't look all that great, he was swaying and his eyes seemed to be swimming, but he saw the kunais on the field. As he turned, Naruto, what? Not now. I'll explain later, said Naruto. As Naruto made a hand sign and four of him popped into existence. Really, boy? You think that it will only take 5 of you to beat me, Orochimaru said. Naruto simply grinned. No. The 4 clones all grabbed onto Naruto's arm as chakra started to swirl into a Rasengan. Just one. The ball of the engine quickly grew to the size of a man as Naruto fought to contain it. Orochimaru moved away from all the kunais later in the field, as he wouldn't allow Naruto to touch him with that. But then Naruto winked at him. Orochimaru cursed as he looked down towards his chest. The mark, that slap, as Naruto appeared above Orochimaru and drive the large Rasengan down. All of their sight was blinded as Rasengan exploded, the light consuming everything. Naruto reappeared next to Jiraiya and Tayuya, who was still staring at the dust cloud of the attack that Naruto had created, as he once again fell to one knee. Using 2 of his most powerful techniques, without the Kyuubi's chakra, they were rather draining. Even Gaara and Kabuto had stopped their battle as they were waiting in anticipation. Finally, everything settled, and Orochimaru's body was at the center of the crater. The body started to twist and turn as 2 hands pushed through the mouth. As Orochimaru shed his skin, as he plopped his head out. Soon, Orochimaru was standing in front of them, not looking that hurt, minus his damaged arms. As Naruto was pissed, not even his powerful techniques were able to kill this guy. Why won't you just die, said Naruto. Orochimaru let out a small laugh as he saw orange chakra start to leak from Naruto. As Naruto dropped down on all fours, 3 tails emerging. He vanished once again as he appeared over Orochimaru. Die! As he slammed his claw hand down. The crater doubled in size as Naruto crushed Orochimaru down. But, moving his hand, the man was gone. The man melted out of the ground a couple feet away. Poor Naruto. So weak as to rely on the Kyuubi's chakra. It was a bluff, of course. If Orochimaru was anyone else, he would have died from the Rasengan attack. But the bluff served its perfect effect that he wanted to happen. As Naruto gripped into the ground tight, as Orochimaru felt the power fluctuating, he felt like he was steering down the Beichu itself. "You want to see the Kyuubi's chakra?" said Naruto, as the chakra started to swirl around him in a maelstrom. Then, "I'll give you the Kyuubi's chakra," he said. Orochimaru watched as Naruto's skin started to tear off, as his skin was peeling to show the red corrosive chakra underneath that writhed and twisted. "Gaara," said Tayuya, as Gaara nodded in worry, as he was already directing his sand away from Kabuto. The sand rush towards Naruto was still in the process of trying to change states, as the fourth tail hasn't completely grown. The sand swirled under Naruto's feet, forming into a complex seal on the ground at the center. The seal erupted in a bright light, causing many people to shield their eyes. When it cleared, a very badly burned, but thankfully chakra-free Naruto lay at the center. Orochimaru had watched all of this as interest, but he was no low on chakra and his body was already, in pain because of his arms. And not to mention him using the rebirth technique right here. He certainly didn't have enough to take on Jiraiya, who seemed to have recovered quite a lot from the poison by Tsunade's hands. But he felt like he had enough to take care of one problem that would be surely problematic in the future, as he sprinted towards Naruto, Kusanagi in hand, ready to deliver the killing blow. But another blur shot in his path. The sword ripped right through Tsunade's stomach, as she coughed out a bit of blood. Orochimaru sighed annoyance as he pulled back the blade, as Tsunade wins. Tsunade, finally overcoming her hemophobia, only to die by my sword. Tsunade ignored the pain as she stand up to her full height. "But really, Tsunade, for this brat, you would give up your life." The diamond on her forehead started to release a seal all over her body. As the wound on her stomach started to sizzle, he quickly leaped away, as he knew he wouldn't stand a chance now, as he called Kabuto instantly. "Kabuto, it's time we depart. I've had enough time to see my old teammates and their pet fox." As Kabuto quickly held on to his master and sunshine away. When they were gone, the group quickly rushed over to Naruto's side, as Tayuya fell on her knees right beside him. He smiled weakly up towards him, wincing every so often from the pain of so many burns. "Good thing that seal worked, huh, Gaara?" Tayuya slapped him over the head, as he finally passed out in pain. Time skip. Tsunade had made short work of healing Uncle's arms and helped with Naruto burns as well. After all, she was the best maiden in the entire world. Now they were all in Naruto's room waiting for him to wake up. They had some questions for the boy, but given that they had time, Jiraiya decided to talk about another matter at the moment. "So, Tsunade, will you take the position now?" he asked. Tsunade was looking down at the blood in the bed. "I think so," she said. As Jiraiya quirked the eyebrow in the odd response, but he decided to, let it slide, because at least she didn't say no. They weren't kept waiting for long, as Naruto cracked the eye open. "What happened to Orochimaru?" he said, as Tayuya was the first one to move as she hugged him. Yes, quite surprising the others in the room. Uncle raised the eyebrow as she smirked. As Naruto winced, his body still feeling a bit pain, but he hugged her back. For once, she didn't care about people being around when doing something like this, as she showed how much she cared for him. Of course, she had a limit and she soon pulled away, slapping him around the head playfully. "Don't worry me like that, shithead. If you die, who the hell am I gonna torture?" she said. As Naruto simply smiled, Gaara nodded towards him as he gave a small smile, letting Naruto know everything he needed to. But Jiraiya was, he needed to know. "Alright, brat. Tell me how you learned the Harushin, and more importantly," as he held up the kunai, as he picked one of them up from the battlefield. "Where did you get this?" "Well, you see," said Naruto, "it's kind of a long story." Flashback. It was a few months after they retrieved Tsunade to get her to pay her debt. Life had pretty much returned back to normal for the two Jinchuriki and Tayuya, as Naruto didn't exactly remember the exact prank that he pulled, but he knew that he was running through the streets of the sand at top pace. Envoys were behind him, but Naruto was fast as he was outrunning them. He ducked and weaved through the crowded streets, using the people as cover to make his escape. When he thought he was finally out of sight, he ducked into an alleyway as he kept on running to put a great distance between them. Finally, he figured he was far enough away as he was panting against the wall with a smile on his face all the same. As he looked around, he recognized the era immediately. He was in the poorer area of the San, where civilian and refugees seek out a living. If he could compare to anything, it would be the same as the same era he used to live in when he was in Konoha. But he wasn't given much time as a kunai came out of nowhere and embedded itself into the wall. Naruto panicked at the attack. The envoys had never been this aggressive before. Then again, he was standing still. The envoys wouldn't have missed. As he turned to see an elderly man clutching onto the kunai, he had another one as he looked like he was about to throw it. He was squinting. It seems like the man was going blind. "Hey, watch where you're throwing those things, old man. You could have hit me." The man was startled by Naruto's voice, like it wasn't what he was expecting. As he came closer, holding on to the kunai, before he realized it was just a boy, he immediately lowered the knife as he walked away, looking very embarrassed about that. "I'm terribly sorry, young man," he said. "My eyes are not what they used to be, and I mistook you for someone else." Naruto was still rather pissed that he was almost hit by the kunai, but he was curious. Who? The elderly man sighed as he motioned to a nearby house. "It was a bit on the downside, but not all that bad. I'll tell you inside over some tea. It's the least I can do for almost killing you." Naruto nodded. There were some better things he could do, but he shrugged that off as he made his way inside. As the man poured the both of them some tea. "You're not from the sand, are you?" "No, I'm not," the man said. "But I can say the same for you, even with these old eyes. I can tell. Blonde hair is most uncommon in these parts. And actually, I'm from the Hidden Stone," the man said, surprising Naruto by that. "So who did you mistake me for?" said Naruto, as the man rubbed the back of his head in a manner that, well, reminded him of himself. "I actually took you for Minato Namikaze, if you could believe that." As Naruto's face was blank at that. So the man clarified, "The fourth Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village." As Naruto nodded, he never actually heard the fourth Hokage's name before. That is why he had no clue who the man was talking about. "But why would you attack me if I look like him? He was a hero to the Leaf Village," said Naruto. The man scowled a bit, like he was thinking of some bad memories. A hero to them, but in the Hidden Stone he's thought of differently. During the Third Great Shinobi War, Minato Namikaze single-handedly killed a third of the Hidden Stone forces. I know he's supposed to be dead, but in the Hidden Stone he's still infamous. But how did he do something like that, Naruto asked, as that was quite surprising. One man? A powerful technique that is unique to him, the Harashin. It allowed him to move himself to any location that he marked. He used to put them on the special kunai that he would throw on the battlefield, and moving at incredible speeds. It was how he earned himself the nickname, the Yellow Flash. Now that I think about it, the man says, he went to the back room, as Naruto heard the man clatter on some things. It should be right around... As the man came back around, as Naruto saw the man place a 3-point kunai on the table. It had 3 points instead of the normal one, with a weird seal on the handle. This was one of his kunais. There were just so many of them later in the battlefield. At the time, we thought it was a good idea to take that as souvenirs. Something to say that we survived Yellow Flash attack. But now we realized it was rather idiotic. We took them to our homes despite knowing that the man could teleport to any one of them, at will. Luckily, it didn't come to that because Tsunade surrendered. "Tell you what, why don't you take it?" As Naruto looked at the man with disbelief. "But why?" he said. "It brings back too many painful memories. I should have gotten rid of it a long time ago." As Naruto was too young to understand, but he took the kunai with a nod. "Sorry about trying to kill you," the man said. Naruto shared a chuckle with the old man, but on the inside he was going through turmoil. If he could learn a jutsu like that, he would literally be unstoppable. End of flashback. Well, that's all well and good, but even I couldn't figure the Harashin. "So how did you do it?" asked Jiraiya. As Jiraiya interrupted Naruto from his narrative. "Come on, kid. How did you do it?" "I don't know," said Naruto. Everyone in the room except for Tayuya and Gaara face faulted. "What do you mean you don't know? I saw you use it." Naruto shrugged once again, and Jiraiya looked like he was about to strangle the boy. "What I mean is I have no idea how he did it. I gave up trying to figure out the technique ages ago." Jiraiya was now confused. "I made my own version," said Naruto. Everyone except for the other two that knew was completely shocked. I was frustrated by it one day because I couldn't work with the seals. So I gave up and put it away in a special scroll that I always kept with me. And that got me thinking. I start to wonder where things went when you see them away in the scrolls. I use the Kyuubi as a thought. She's in my stomach, but she couldn't actually be in there. So it must be some kind of dimension. So that made me think, if there was a seal for sealing things in, there had to be a seal on the other side to enter back into the dimension, right? Then I just work out what the seal was. But that was a lot harder than it sounds, said Naruto. After that I realized I could just place a normal, but very powerful, sealing mark on my body and put the other mark on anything I want to go to and then instantly teleport. I mean, it's a bit more complicated than that. I had to disconnect the original link and connect it to multiple links. Yeah, but yeah, that's the general idea. As they all were shocked, as Naruto just told them about a simplified version of the Hiroshin. Kid, that was the most incredible thing I ever heard. How long did all of that took you? I'm not sure. It all kind of passed in a blur, said Naruto. Well, if you count all the times he was locked up in his room with inks and brush, then about a year, said Tayuya. Jiraiya scooted up to Naruto. Maybe you could impart your knowledge to an old man, huh? Maybe, said Naruto with a grin. Depends what you're willing to do for it, he said. Jiraiya nodded, as Tayuya and Gaara shook their heads. Jiraiya really had no idea what Naruto had planned. Whenever he got that smirk on his face, it wouldn't be good. Time skip. It was a boring trip back to Konoha. Well, unless you believe Tayuya about a adventure at the hot springs they stay in. Everyone smiles, they arrive back to the gates. Even Tsunade smiled a bit after being gone for so long. Shizune was young when Tsunade took her, but she still had memories of the place, fleeting memories though. Uncle was currently thinking about a plan to get Tayuya to accept her feelings for the blonde, as he was quite naive when it came to these things, so she had to nudge them and get Tayuya to stop denying herself. Once they were through the gates, greeted by Aizumo and Kidetsu, Jiraiya and Tsunade took off towards the tower. As Tayuya turned towards Naruto to see if he wanted to go train, but she was beaten to the punch by Anko, as Anko held both of his shoulders behind him. Naruto, I want to thank you for what you did, she said. As Naruto looked at her confused. And Tayuya and Gaara as well, as Anko came around as she faced him. What do you mean, Anko? Anko chuckled lightly, as Naruto was surprised that wasn't her normal laugh. This sounded nice and soft. I mean, when you saved me from Kabuto, he would have killed me if you hadn't been there. He felt a blush coming across his nose as he took on his normal pose when in these situations. Well, you know, it's just what Shinobi do, he said. Well, maybe so, but I just want to thank you anyway. As she made sure that Tayuya saw everything, as she kissed Naruto on the cheek. Naruto simply spluttered, his entire face turning red. That's cute. As Uncle pulled him into a hug, chuckling as she did so. How about a date to show my gratitude? But I know you could see the smoke coming from Tayuya's ears, but she remained quiet. Uncle realized that she had to kick it up a bit. Naruto was spluttering. What would we do? I mean, on this a dinner. That's so cliche. I have something better in mind, Uncle said. Time skip. As Naruto was running for his life, as the forest was dark, but that was not the problem, as a hail of kunai embedded into the tree trunk as he leaped off and run. As Naruto had no idea where he was, as he ducked as some senbons flew over his head. He sighed deeply, already on the move, as a kunai passed his cheek, scratched him a bit, as he kept on running and moving, before a massive hail of kunai landed in front of him, forcing him to jump to the side. The moment he did, something landed beside him, as something smacked him over the head. His attacker stood over his body, twirling a kunai, as he grabbed onto his feet and dragged him towards their lair. When Naruto woke up, he was tied to a tree trunk, with a lot of ninja wire, as he couldn't move. As Uncle came swaying over. Good morning. Was it as good for you as it was for me, she said. Why the hell did you tie me up, Uncle? As she smirked at him. Oh, don't you know, Naruto? It's more fun when someone is tied up. Well, are you gonna cut me free or not? Uncle brought the kunai up to her chin, tapping it against her cheek. No, she said. As Naruto groaned as he felt his legs start to fall asleep from the constriction. Why the hell would you ask me on a date, only to stalk me through a forest and then tie me up? But what else would we do on a date? As Naruto looked at her, his inexperience got the better of him as he dropped his head. Bye then, Naruto, she said. He snapped his head up as he remembered the creatures that were in Train Ground 44, and he didn't want them to find him in this situation. Wait, where are you going? She simply waved at him as Naruto took a breath. as Uncle kept on walking away. The next thing she knew, she was tackled down to the ground. That's pretty good, kid. I didn't expect you to get out that fast. Well, this isn't the first time I've been tied up, said Naruto. Flashback. Come on, Baki-sensei. What the hell am I tied to a tree near to axe? Are you gonna say the same thing to your enemies when they capture you? Baki asked. As Naruto twisted a bit as he heard a creak, Baki had tied him on a tree branch, 20 feet off the ground. It wasn't going to kill him if he fall, but it was going to hurt like hell. And he'd rather not feel that pain right now. Come on, Baki-sensei, when I'm a ninja, no one will be able to capture me. Please, Naruto. Every shinobi, male and female, get captured at some point. And the first ones that get captured and can't escape because they never learn how to properly escape. You'll thank me one day for this. Now I suggest you stop talking and get working on those ropes. You will understand soon enough. I guess I really do have to thank Baki-sensei, Naruto thought, as he looked at Uncle to see her blushing a bit. He didn't know why. As he looked down to realize he was straddling her stomach a bit, he quickly pushed himself away from her, apologizing, as Uncle got up, dusting herself off, as she laughed. He did have me in that position, and didn't even know what to do with it, she thought. Kinda cute in his own way, but don't worry, kid. I won't steal her kiss from Tayuya. Come on, Naruto, she said. Why don't we get that dinner then? Clichés be damned. Time skip. The next day, the 5 of them were at the training ground as the students started their training. As Hana catch Uncle up on what she missed at the village. And also, Uncle told Hana about her plan with Naruto and Tayuya. But Hana disagreed with her. That almost never happened. Hana also noticed the relationship between them. But Hana wanted the relationship to progress on its natural course without Uncle intervening with it. Uncle said that she wasn't intervening, just moving things along at a quicker pace, but with the same ending. Hana sighed, she just hoped Uncle was right about that. But through the entire training, Tayuya seemed unmotivated, sluggish, not really paying attention to what was going on, as Hana tried to motivate her with promise of dango and a new jutsu, but nothing worked. Naruto and Gaara didn't even seem to notice the lackluster attitude of their teammate. Uncle wasn't going to let him see this either. Sadness wasn't what she wanted. She wanted that spark of jealousy. Before the group could go home, as the training session was over, Uncle tried one last thing. Thank you for last night, Naruto. It was fun. As Naruto started to turn red once again, as Uncle glanced towards Tayuya. Uncle didn't smirk as he moved forward as she kissed him on cheek again. But to her annoyance, Tayuya simply deflated, all the anger leaving her. Uncle thought that she overdid it. She might have overdid it too much and pushed the two of them away for good. Her mind raced what she could do to fix this, as she came up with a blank every time. Tayuya looked sad as she turned to leave away. Suddenly, the redhead stopped, mid-step, as her eyes started to twitch. Something inside of her just clicked. She had enough. She had goddamn enough, as she turned towards Uncle, all of her jealousy and rage coming out. Get away from him, you whoring skank. You're 4 years older than him. Don't you have any self-respect or decency, you common slut? What? Couldn't get a man your own age? Why don't you run back to your street corner like little whore you are? As Tayuya was panting in anger as she glared at Uncle. Uncle was a bit angry. She expected jealousy, but not this. As everyone was staring at them. What? Jealous or something? Uncle asked. Finally, admit it to yourself that you actually like Naruto more than a friend. Tayuya opened her mouth, as Uncle thought that she would deny the allegation, but she just closed back her mouth. As Naruto turned towards her, Tayuya, what does she mean you like me more than a friend? He was used to her way of talking, so he, understand. She lashed out, but he didn't know why. So bad. When Naruto's eyes set on her, as her brain gave her a command, she ran. She ran away not knowing where she was going. Tayuya, wait! As Naruto chased after her, normally he could be faster, but she was just running in opposite wild directions, as he was mining civilians as she hopped to the rooftops, as he quickly went after her. She didn't know why, but she found herself sprinting up the rough steps towards the Hokage's monument. After a brief climb, she saw Kunai pass her head, as she was surprised he was attacking her now, but she saw what kind of kunai it was, as Naruto flashed right in front of her, as she crashed straight into him, knocking him right on top of his own head. She tried to pull back to run away, but he grabbed onto her, and she couldn't get out of his grip. Eventually, she stopped her struggling and just lowered her head, as her unruly hair covered her eyes. As Naruto still had no idea what was going on, as he raised her chin with his hand, as he saw a tear leaking down her face. The only time he saw her cry was when they talk about her past, and never out of the blue like this. He quickly pulled her into a tight hug, as he just wanted to make her feel better and stop crying. She was startled by the sudden embrace as he kept his arms on her. When she finally stopped, he pulled back and looked her directly in the eyes. "Why were you crying?" he asked. 7 years with the blonde and she still couldn't understand. How could he be so selfless? As he looked visibly hurt just to see her cry like this. And she didn't like when he, well, looked like this. "It doesn't matter, Naruto," as she called him by his name, but that didn't matter right now. "When you cry, it always mattered to me." She lightly punched him in the chest as she swarmed out of his grip as she sat down next to him. He didn't know what to say, so he decided to say what Uncle said earlier. What made her, well, act this way in the first place? What did Uncle Sensei mean when she said that you like me more than a friend? She stiffened a bit. "You know, you're such an idiot sometimes." "I like you, shithead," she said. "Yeah, I like you too, Tayuya," he said. She sighed. She turned towards him. "I like you," she said. "Yeah, I like you too," he said to her. As she sighed, he was so clueless. "You make everything so difficult, you moron," she said. As she wondered why were these words so hard to say, she said words all the time. Well, she knew why, because it was Naruto who she was saying it to. That infuriating, unpredictable, irritating, loudmouth, kind, generous, selfless, unpredictable Naruto. She realized that she should just show him by action as she closed her eyes and grabbed his shirt and pulled him. But that was the wrong thing to do as their headbands clashed against each other. As she opened back her eyes, seeing Naruto holding his headband. "Damn it, I messed everything up," she thought. She knew she should have listened to Temari more, but the older blonde always made these situations awkward. "Screw it, like I care what he thinks, well I does. Just keep your eye open." Before he could say anything, she went for it again. As Naruto closed his eyes, thinking that she was gonna headbutt him again. But he felt something touch his lips, as his eyes shot open in surprise. But the contact felt right, pleasant. As his lips started to move as he returned her kiss, they finally broke as they remembered they need air to breathe. As the both of them were panting, looking at each other. "Tayuya, not that I'm complaining, but what was that?" She slapped him across the chest, as he looked so confused like a little puppy. "That's me saying that I like you, shithead," she said, as a cog started turning his head. "Wait, I like Gar too. Does that mean I'll to kiss him?" said Naruto. As she started to laugh. He always knew how to make things lighten in certain tough situations. "No, because if you kiss anyone else from now on, I'll kill you," she said. "Especially another boy." Naruto nodded. "Wait, does this mean that you're my girlfriend now? So can I call you Tayuya-chan?" Despite her blush, she glared at him, as that was a big no-no. "Yeah, sure, if you want me to call you shithead cunt." As Naruto laughed a bit, as the both of them mulled over what just happened. It was getting late, but neither of them wanted to say anything as they were two stubborn people in a relationship. As the both of them just fell asleep right there, as she curled into Naruto's warm body. Time skip. Naruto nearly made a dent in the stone when he jumped back, as he had woken up to see Gaara looking down at him, his arms crossed. "You didn't return to the apartment last night." As Naruto shifted himself up into a semi-sitting position to not disturb Tayuya, as she was holding on to one of his hands, he left it there. "Oh yeah, sorry about that. I guess we just lost track of time and fell asleep." As Gaara looked at Tayuya's sleeping form. "So what happened last night?" "Well, if you can believe it, Tayuya is actually not my girlfriend." Gaara quirked the eyebrow. "It's about time." Naruto frowned. "What does that mean?" he said. Gaara chuckled. That was rather rare for him. "I mean, it's been very obvious that Tayuya has liked you for quite some time now. If I had other friends, I'm sure we would have made a bet on when you'd realize." As Naruto laughed, enjoying a laugh with Gaara. "You shitheads, better not be talking about me." As Tayuya propped herself up. "What time is it?" she said as she covered her eyes. "Around 7 in the morning." "Screw off, Gaara," she said, "and go bother someone else." This was the first time she wouldn't have to wake up and do some ridiculous training as she pulled Naruto back to her. "We're not going anywhere, shithead," she said. Gaara simply smiled at the scene as he sunshine away to give them time to themselves. As Tayuya placed her head on Naruto's chest. "Hey, you actually make a half-decent pillow," she said. "Now lie still and act like one." As Naruto lies still, complying to his girlfriend's request. It sounded weird to say that even in his mind. Moments later, well, this was certainly unexpected, said Naruto. "Speak for yourself, kid." It was painfully obvious to everyone, Except for you two, said the Kyuubi. Was I really that bad? The Kyuubi simply tilted her head to the side. Well, at least you got there in the end, kid. Now comes the fun part, she said. As Naruto looked at her blankly. Oh, right. I guess for you humans, 14 is still a child, she said. Hey, this means I'm not a kid anymore, said Naruto. I'm a shinobi, as he pointed his headband. The Kyuubi came over to him. Ah yes, the headband with a 9 on it. I still don't know where you got that idea from. It certainly wasn't from me. Honestly, I don't know whether to be flattered or amused. Naruto crossed his arms and pouted as he sat down to the ground. She simply wrapped him up in one of her tails. Exactly that kind of behavior that helped me remind myself that you are a child, she said, as she pulled him up to his feet. As he knew he couldn't get rid of the tail, after all. They could be used to destroy mountains, so they could be as solid as steel. When you and your female finally get to the fun aspects of a relationship, let me know so I can be a part of it. Wait, what? She started to laugh. What? Just because I'm in prison inside of you means I don't get to have some fun? As Naruto refused to answer her, as he left the mindscape, as Tayuya was still on his chest, sleeping peacefully, as he wondered how he missed how she was so beautiful before. It was so obvious, and yet he missed it all. He can be a real idiot sometimes. He chuckled though. At least he was an idiot with an amazing girlfriend, he thought to himself. Time skip. As Tayuya stretched as she woke up, she glanced up towards Naruto as he was still asleep. Her hand reached out as she touched his whisker marks. She always wondered, but they didn't feel any different from his skin. There was no grooves or rays. It just felt like her mark on her neck, like it was directly into the skin. He chuckled a bit as she stroked it. As she felt the vibration, she quickly stopped, as it would look rather weird if he woke up to this. She paused. Wait, how would it look? She was now his girlfriend. Did girlfriend do things like this? She didn't answer no. He stirred, as he slowly opened his eyes. Hey, Tayuya? Hey, shithead, she said. So you're still gonna call me that, said Naruto. She sat up as she crossed her arms. Until the day I dropped, she said. He sat up as well, as the sun was just begun to fall in the sky. Damn, how late did we sleep in? Tayuya simply shrugged, she didn't really care. Uncle would probably be pissed as hell, but she would just give them more training and probably just tease them. But she felt like this was really worth it. No, come on. Let's go find Gar before we take out his frustration on some unexpected building. Naruto smirked as he looked towards her. Why are you looking at me like that, she asked. You just said that entire sentence without swearing. What? Screw off, I didn't. Go shove your head up your shitty ass, she said. Naruto chuckled as she blushed. As Naruto placed a hand on her shoulder. Tayuya? As she noticed he was deep in thought. What do we do now? What do you mean? We're going to find Gaara. No, I mean us. What do we do now? She suddenly blushed as she remembered some of the things that Temari had talked to her about, and Jerry a book. Well, placing some of it in perspective. I don't know, she said. As he nodded in agreement. I guess we just keep on doing what we normally do. If it feels right, why change it? He nodded. But if there was one thing you want to do, as he leaned forward and kissed her, as she felt the kiss. As she started leaning into it, but at that moment he pulled away. Why did you stop, shithead, she said. He shrugged as he leaned forward once again, but she stopped him. She would be damned if he was the dominant one in this relationship. As she gave him a wink and sunshine away. As Naruto sighed, woman can be troublesome. He could have sworn he just heard a couple of sneezing coming from a distance away. He must be hearing things. Time skip. Tayuya laughed to herself for leaving Naruto high and dry. Well, he was just gonna have to learn. After all, he broke the kiss too early, and she was going to be the one to be teaching him everything. It's not like she knew that much. Despite saying that she was going to find Gaara, she wanted to be alone right now, as she thought. As she kept on walking, not knowing where she was going, the streets becoming emptier and emptier. She did notice all the fan symbols that were on the wall though. As she wondered, did she stumble in some strange compound? That didn't make much sense because there should be more people around. It was then that she realized she was the only person around for at least 100-mile radius. There was no one here. The streets were quiet and they obviously have been vacant for some time now. The place gave her the creeps as she turned to leave, but she heard some commotion. Her curiosity piqued. As she looked towards the building, she made her way over as she saw some lights. As she looked over the wall to see the Uchiha facing off against 4 people. All of them wore the same clothing, with a purple belt wrapped around their stomach area. There was a fat one, the orange, bright mohawk. Clearly, the open personal type. Next was a strange, thin person who she couldn't tell if it was male or female due to the green lipstick and the pale blue hair. The person had a lump on the back of their neck that looked like a second head, and a dark-skinned man with 6 arms. But most shockingly, the one that Naruto fought in the preliminaries, that guy from Hinata's team, was there as well. She moved forward to hear what they were talking about, not even noticing her foot brush an invisible wire as she was paced in some gunk. As she realized the 6-armed guy had shot it from his mouth, it made her want to puke. Sasuke and the rest of them turned to look at what he caught. The strange 2-headed thing jumped towards her. As he looked down, it seems like Kidomaru caught a fly on the wall. She heard his voice. He was a man. He noticed a curse mark as she was propped up. Oh, what's this? Aren't we lucky? He picked her up with surprising strength and carried her back to his teammates. What is it, Seikon? The fat one asked. Tayuya shot him a scowl as she found that she instantly disliked him. Screw off, fatso, she said. His eyes started to twitch as he stepped forward, his arms curling into fists. Back off, Jirobo. This is the one Lord Orochimaru told us to watch out for. Jirobo back off. At least that told her that Seikon was leader of the group. By now, the Uchiha just looked impatient, tapping his foot on the ground, as Tayuya wondered what he was doing with subordinates of Orochimaru. Would you idiots just stop bickering so we can go? She was surprised, but she tried not to show it on her face. He was defecting to Orochimaru? Oh great, you're a traitor. Should have known that an emo fag like you would have wanted to be butt buddies with the Orochimaru pedo. Sasuke struck her across the face with the back of his hand for her outburst. Her eyes got fumed with as she was livid, but Kidomaru sprayed some more of that gunk over her mouth, keeping her from shouting. That would have gotten annoying. Suddenly, Hibiki, who hadn't spoken yet, looked up from where he was crouching down towards the ground. We should leave now. There are faint vibrations on the ground, not far from here. As they quickly took off with Sasuke, making their way with Tayuya, as Seikon was annoyed by her twisting and grinding around. That's it, I don't care, let's just put them in the coffins right now. As Tayuya wondered what the hell he mean by that, Sasuke wondered what he was talking about as well. Coffins? How is that supposed to give me more power? The sound formed merely laugh, as Jirobo pulled out 2 pills from a pouch. The coffins merely keep you from hurting yourself. These are what activate the second stage of the curse mark. Sasuke took the pill. As he went over towards the coffin as he swallowed the pill, Jirobo placed on the lid as he put the coffin on his back. Seikon took the other pill. As Tayuya glared at him, he ripped off the gunk. Before she could say anything, grabbed her face as he forced the pill down her throat. As he covered her mouth and nose so she couldn't breathe, forcing her to swallow. As she quickly felt a burning sensation in her guts as she was hoisted into the next coffin that they had brought. The lid came down as she felt blinding pain before she passed out. Meanwhile, Naruto had caught up with Gaara, but then suddenly, he dropped to the ground as the petal on his wrist started to burn. He had to bite his lip, hard enough to even draw blood because the pain was so intense. As it passed, as he looked back up to Gaara. What's wrong, said Gaara. Stay away. She's in trouble, said Naruto. But guys, be in subs right here. If you want to see the next part, so do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm hoping I'll see you guys soon. Peace.